With me now from the Heritage Foundation, Hans von Spakovsky. Welcome, Hans.
Thanks for having me.
So on Monday, Project Veritas released video of political operatives exploiting elderly Somali immigrants by taking their ballots and filling them out for them. But now today, new videos showing these operatives paying for ballots in cash as well, and even pretending to be translators in order to enter the polling booth with them. What do you make of these new developments?
This sounds like one of the worst and, frankly, most illegal operations that I've seen. And I've looked at a lot of election fraud cases. And it's not just state law that's been violated here, but numerous federal laws, everything from coercing and intimidating voters to bribing voters and paying for their registration and votes. All that is highly illegal under federal law. And in fact, those are felonies. And the FBI needs to immediately open up an investigation in addition to local police.
And so we are hearing right now that in Minneapolis, police say they are looking at a case of voter fraud. It may be this situation with Project Veritas that they are looking into. But when it comes to that, we talked to James O'Keefe last night, and he was telling us that a lot of his witnesses, both on camera and off, were saying that Ilhan Omar, the congresswoman of that area, that district, telling them that she is involved with this, that she knows about this, that she may even be directing it at some points. Would you be surprised if charges are brought? I know they should be, hopefully, brought, but would you be surprised if they actually do happen?
Well, I'll be surprised if there aren't charges brought against the individuals that the investigation reveals are involved with this. A lot of prosecutors don't bother to investigate these kind of cases. A lot of them don't like prosecuting these cases. But I think when there's actual undercover video showing the wrongdoing, they're going to have a tough time. And the public's going to say, why aren't you doing something about this?
Yeah, especially because just a few weeks ago, we heard from the FBI director, Christopher Wray, and he was telling us there was no large-scale organized voter fraud, and yet here it is. Do you believe that the FBI should move on this quickly?
Yes, they absolutely should. And I frankly think Chris Wray did not know what he was talking about. And I think the FBI, frankly, has not taken the steps that it should take to investigate and prosecute the many reported instances of potential election fraud around the country. They've been very neglectful in their duties.
When it comes to ballot harvesting itself, we even see Democrat Congresswoman Tulsi Gabbard saying that it should be outlawed nationwide. No state should be able to do it. Do you believe that ballot harvesting is ever legal, or is it ever a good thing? Is it ever legitimate? Do you ever think it's purposeful, or is it purposefully a flawed system in your opinion?
It's always a flawed system and always unwise. Look, the idea of giving individuals who have a stake in the outcome of the election, campaign workers, political guns for hire, the legal right to go to people's homes and collect their ballots. Well, when you do that, you get the kind of results we've seen in Minnesota, including, as you said, them preying on the elderly and those most vulnerable to coercion and pressure.
When it comes to ballot harvesting, a lot of this is because a lot of states are expanding mail-in voting, so there's a lot of absentee ballots flooding the system as it is. We saw back in June, I believe it was, New York held a primary in which they went to mail-in voting, expanded it there. It took weeks for them to even know who won that election, and then later on we found out about 1 out of every 5 absentee ballots were completely knocked off. They weren't even counted. So do you have any concerns that when it comes to this general election in November, do you have any concerns about the integrity there?
I do, and I would urge everyone that watches your program, vote in person. Do not vote through the mail. You're likely to get your ballot rejected. There's a much higher probability than if you vote in person. And do you really want to be dependent on some campaign staffer who comes to your door to maybe deliver your ballot? Or do you really want to depend on the U.S. Postal Service to perhaps maybe deliver your ballot in time? Bad idea. Vote in person.
And so we also have seen Hillary Clinton. She has been publicly advising Joe Biden not to concede the election under any circumstances. I fear that it's because Democrats think they can make up the ballots a few days, a few weeks after the election, but that's just my humble opinion. Do you have any concern that if the election is contested and it goes to the Supreme Court, what would that actually look like for people who are wondering?
Well, it could be a repeat of the Bush v. Gore decision from the 2000 election, but that also is one of the reasons why we need to confirm a new justice on the court as soon as possible, because we don't want some controversy to come up and then get a split decision from the U.S. Supreme Court because there's only 8 justices, because that would leave us perhaps not knowing or being able to decide who actually won the election.
Yeah, great analysis tonight. Thank you so much for joining us, Hans.
Thank you for having me.